Hello people of the earth and welcome to QuickSaveTV. This is Mike with you today and I'm going to demonstrate to you my build for a Barbarian, which is specifically on level 37. All of this you can achieve maybe a little bit earlier as well, but I'm just saying that it's not a 60 level build. It works quite well for me at Nightmare. I'm still trying to refine it, but I'm just going to go ahead and maybe give you some ideas for your own builds in order to improve them or in order to find out some things, interesting ideas, and etc, etc. Let's just go ahead and start. Essentially for my primary attack, I use Frenzy. As a rune for Frenzy, I use Vanguard. While under effects of Frenzy, you gain 15% increased movement speed. Now, why Vanguard? Why, for instance, not the healing rune, like such as Triumph? Why not Sidearm, which increases my damage output? Well, because whenever I engage with the enemy and the situation is quite difficult and someone wants to use this, I don't know how you call it, chainsaw to cut a pipe outside right now when I'm making a video. Thank you so much, friend. I hate you as well. I wish you die. The swift death. Anyway, so essentially whenever I engage in combat, this rune, Vanguard, helps me to retreat from combat or to shorten the distance from one enemy to another. The next, as a secondary, for my right mouse button, excuse me, I use the weapon throw with a ricochet. Now, why ricochet? Because I kind of like my my throwable weapon to damage several enemies, and damaging 3 enemies at a time is quite satisfying. Actually, it works quite well on long distances whenever I cannot engage enemy directly. It works quite well for me. Then we have defensive leap. I use Leap with the Iron Impact, which gives me 300 additional armor for 4 seconds after landing. That helps me engage with the enemies and get this boost in armor so that I don't die. The second skill, I use the Might, Ancient Spear, which I use with the Dread Spear, which gives me 60% of damage returns to me as life. I use that because I kinda like, at the same time, I kinda like the Skirmish, which gives more fury, but I don't need so much fury at the same time because most of my abilities are fury generators, and this Dread Spear allows me to utilize some additional heal in order to actually stay alive on Nightmare. And then I have Threatening Shout with Grim Harvest. Now this is actually I'm just playing around with it. I replaced something else with the Threatening Shout and it works quite well. I like it because I don't directly need to engage with enemies. As long as I shout, I get additional fury boost, and because I reduce the damage from enemies, I can easily use it against elite monsters and have this additional advantage. And the Grim Harvest is just me being silly and wanting to get more additional treasures. Now, as the fourth ability, notice I don't use anything super powerful, I use the Rend. Now, Rend is my AoE solution. It's the bleeding attack with the rune for which I use the Lacerate, which increases damage to 271%, and yeah, over the same 3 seconds. Now, I like it a lot. I would probably like Mutilate more, but no, actually, yeah, I like Lacerate a lot. It works quite well for me because it increases the outright damage during the same period of time. It's like 3 times my damage over 3 seconds. It's a great bleeding effect, which I can use all the time whenever the enemies are many. Now, for passive skills, I use Ruthless, which gives me additional chance to score critical hits by 5%, and the critical hit damage is increased by 50%. Then I use Weapons Master, and because... come on, just don't talk, shut up. Anyway, the Weapon Master I use because it gives me additional bonus depending on what weapon I use in my main hand. Now, in my main hand, I have swords. Okay, I have sword in this case. Whatever weapon I'm gonna use, I'm gonna have different bonuses. And because of this, there's actually something funny. Look at this. Normally, that wouldn't happen, as far as I'm aware. But now, if I replace the sword and the mace, look what's gonna happen. The mace is much more damaging. Sword is less damaging. The DPS is 708. Let's replace 672. Look at this. It changes because of the Weapons Master. Okay, good. The next one I use Animosity, which increases my Fury generation by 10% and expands the Fury amount to 20. Why do I have it? I kind of like to have additional 20% of Fury because I don't normally engage the enemies in close combat, especially when there's a huge crowd or there are too difficult enemies to engage. Now let me just go ahead and demonstrate you for a little bit how I actually fight. Now, in this situation, I need to liquidate the enemy as fast as possible, okay? Because he summons the stupid flowers, this tree summons the flowers, the poisonous flowers, and they can actually kill you really quickly, especially if you're a melee character. excuse me, as a warrior, as a barbarian or a monk. It's quite difficult. Oh, that's gonna be something interesting right now. Now in this situation, there's no elites. I'm just trying to liquidate enemies one after another. I use the shouts, I use primarily my abilities in order to generate fury. Not as much to actually gain tactical advantage, it's not necessary right now, but when the enemies are many... Look at this, the axis actually slides from one enemy to another. It's very good, it deals additional damage. Essentially, as far as I understood, the same damage over several enemies. Right now we're in trouble, we're gonna go ahead and jump over there! Swallow this pot? Okay, very good. Oh, it didn't sound too well. Not the pot that people smoke, I mean the pot, the potion, like, you know. Okay. Good. Okay, we're in pretty good condition right now. Enchantress kinda died. I apologize, I still have a little bit of cough, but I need to get back to making videos, or else I'm gonna absolutely forget how to actually do that. And yes, that's pretty much the build. As you can see, in every combat situation I usually use my 1, 2, 3. The right mouse button, axe throwing, is whenever I need to increase the distance to the enemy. And because I have 120 fury, I can actually throw 12 axes like no problem, like nobody's business. Not a problem. Then I can quickly restore all of my reserves. Look at this again, at half of my fury. Very, very good. That's especially effective when you fight against elites, because I cannot normally engage elites in close quarters combat. Whenever it is possible, I try to do that. When it's not, I always have my ranged solution, the weapon throw. And if the enemy likes to pull yourself to himself, like for instance, if the enemy you fight against is the jailer or the waller, or how else is it called? Not teleporter, but another one, the ones that teleport you. You can always have rend, which allows you, look at this, gigantic AoE damage over large masses of enemies. This allows you to deal damage when you're not physically on the battlefield, so you kind of cast it, you run away, and you still deal this gigantic damage. And that's why I like a lot bleeding effects for a barbarian on the higher difficulties. Like as you advance in difficulties, especially in Nightmare, it have proven fundamental for my build and etc. Now, as attributes wise, I have almost equal amount of strength to vitality, which might not necessarily be what I would like to have. I would like to have, say, strength 500, vitality, say 400, 350, like this kind of comparison, like 3 to 2. 3 units of strength to 2 units of vitality. It again depends on what kind of build you want to do. More vitality is kind of defensive build, more strength is kind of offensive, but I do not recommend you to go disbalanced in either side. Too much vitality means too much hit points, too little damage. Too much strength means too high damage, too low vitality. Too much hit points, you're gonna die too quickly. Having reasonable amount of both would be very good, especially considering that the Barbarian originally is a tanking class, not so much a damage dealing class, although you of course can speculate on that and make it a damage dealing class. I just feel that it's a safer bet to go in a higher difficulties as a more defensive build. Not ultra mega defensive like a paladin in Diablo 2, rather a melee warrior, which is effective at what he does, right? But not too extreme. Right now, a perfect example of the situation when we have so many enemies and I cannot directly engage them, so I just throw the axe until the hit points drop to such a point that it's not a problem to kill them anymore. If the things go too bad, I always can use my potion. So yeah, you see, there's a lot of solutions I can use on the battlefield. And right now, it wasn't the hardest battle, but right now I just actually won a very difficult battle. There were 2 sets of elites. It was just fine. It worked great. The Rend does the job very well, especially when the enemies are close to you in huge numbers and you don't have a lot of time to decide whom to liquidate first. And it actually serves as a great AoE. One would say that it's a situational AoE. No, in this case, it actually works great as any kind of AoE, very comfortable. Let's throw away this helmet. That's very useful, and that would be it. I hope you could learn something from this build. I hope it was helpful for you. It certainly was interesting to share my impressions with you. I will do that in the future if I will receive a positive feedback on this one. If you enjoy it, I will be sure to do that again and maybe do different classes as well. Right now I've been focusing heavily on Barbarian because I want to to provide highest possible quality tutorials, okay? And that's why I've been focusing on Barbarian, so that I know one class very well and then move towards other classes, so that I can also judge other classes from the perspective of another class, you know, kind of like know your enemy, know yourself thing. So anyway, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and my commentary. If you did, please go ahead and click the like button and share your opinion, why or why not you did or did not like it. And of course, ask your beautiful questions I will answer 100%, commentaries I will read 100%. Thank you so much for watching, have a greatest day and good luck with your builds in Diablo 3. Many of them tried, many of them failed, okay? We had Loki, we had the Titan Quest, we had Torchlight, we had... This fucking game sucks. How am I gonna play it? I'll better play something more accessible like Contra, and oh boy was I mistaken. Contra was even worse.